Hey there, everyone. This is Blake, the Grizzled Musician, and I just got a new Mac. So, okay, new computer. Why and why this one? Well, a couple of months ago, my venerable iMac that I'd been using for years ended up crashing on me. It actually wasn't the first time that it had crashed either. It had crashed once before, kind of the same way. Essentially, I was running off of an external drive, an external SSD, because the internal drive was just too slow. And so what I ended up doing was running off of an external SSD. Well, the problem is apparently with the new Apple file system that they came out with a couple of years ago, it doesn't tend to play nice with external drives, from what I can read. And I ended up having two instances where it just ended up corrupting the drive and crashing. So I ended up moving to my MacBook here for the time being, and I prefer having it just as a portable laptop. So I ended up picking up one of the new Mac Minis, the ones with the M1 chip in them. And this is going to be a video where I kind of explore compatibility, because that's one thing that I'm worried about is plug-in compatibility, and as well as performance. I'm going to see how it stacks up to this MacBook. In theory, this MacBook was about, according to Cinebench, about 1.5 times as powerful as my iMac. But in using them, they felt about the same. So, I mean, theoretically it's faster, but it felt similar to me using it. So we're going to see how that stacks up here. I'm going to try to run Cinebench on this, get all of the plugins installed, which is going to take some time. So through the magic of video, you won't have to sit through that. And when you come back, we will talk about the performance numbers, and we'll see how does a Mac Mini, this one in particular, 256 gigabyte SSD, which is the same as the MacBook, and 16 gigs of RAM. So how does the Mac Mini work for orchestral composition? Let's find out. Okay, so before we kind of go in and check out what the Mac Mini is capable of, I wanted to run a test on the MacBook. Now, this was a project I started on the iMac back when it was still working. And I really haven't done anything with this project since then. This was a project I worked on in a couple of live streams. You can go back and check it on my channel as it progressed. But this one has, let's see, about 54 tracks of different, some of them have nothing on them, some of them do. Probably about 48 tracks or so are have active MIDI data on them, running Play from East West, BBC Symphony from Spitfire, Contact instances of Albion, etc. So a couple of native instruments libraries and whatnot. So we're going to see, I've got the activity monitor up here. This is it sitting idle. Logic sitting at about 20% CPU usage right now. I've got the Logic performance meter, and I'll be going and checking on the memory. Right now, this is where we're currently at. We're at about 8 gigs used. This MacBook is an i7 7700 HQ, I believe. So this is a quad-core, 8-thread, 16 gigs of RAM computer from mid-2017, I think. I'd have to double-check, but it's a couple of years old. But at this point, we're going to see how this runs compared to the Mac Mini that I'm going to get set up here in a little bit. So I'll just let this project run, and we'll check the CPU usage, among other things, and see how it handles. I should mention I'm running at a buffer size of 256. To make it a little bit harder, I'm going to change the buffer size to 128. All right, now let's see how this goes. Okay, we're sitting at about 108 CPU. We don't really have anything playing at this moment. spike right there. Once action strikes and Apocalypse Percussion Elements comes in, those tend to take up a lot. Okay, so that's where we are. It actually did very well, I have to say. Okay, so we have, this was the first one really using a new template. So there's more, definitely more tracks on this one being utilized. Well, some of them are utilized, some of them aren't. But the ones that aren't utilized, for the most part, are turned off. So let us see how this one fares on the MacBook Pro. What are we running at? Should still be at 128. Yep. We're at about 75%. And one thing I do have to mention is the fan is going right now, and the fan gets going big time on this. That's another thing that I don't particularly like about it, is that it's loud. The iMac was never loud. And so that's one thing that, again, I was trying to maybe fix by getting another desktop. So, all right, we're going to play a little bit of this, and we'll just see how this goes. Big CPU spike there. We're sitting at about 50% utilization. Okay. This track is nowhere near being done, so that's the most I'll play of it. But as you can see, we're sitting at about 50% CPU utilization. And yeah, the fan, if I bring up max fan control right now, the fans are going pretty hard right now. The max they can go is about 5,900 RPM, 5,400, and they're at 53 and 49. So they are going pretty hot. In fact, let me have this up. Let me play a little bit more of this. See what the CPU core temperature gets to. Because this is all relevant stuff that I want to know. I want to know how hot does it run and whatnot. So we're at 83 now. You know what? I want to make it even harder on it. Let me take the buffer size down. But I'm curious from a performance standpoint what this will do. I'm expecting eventually it will cut out. It won't be able to process it all. So we'll just let we're at 88% or 88 degrees CPU temp right now. All right, let's play back and see what happens. Heard a bit of a pop there, I think. Oh, yep, we're getting pops now. Yeah. All right, so we're getting pops at 64 now, so it can't keep up. All right, so 128 seemed to work fine. 64, we're start getting pops. So, all right, that is where we are. We got up to about 80 degrees, 88 degrees when we were loading a project. Okay. Well, it's been about It's been about 6 hours or so. It hasn't taken me that. I've been doing other stuff in the meantime. So probably about 4 or 5 hours to get everything installed on the Mac Mini. So far, everything has gone pretty well. All things considered, didn't run into any issues really. I had a couple of few little hiccups with some installs, some permission issues with installs, but I worked around that pretty easily. Some isotope plugins didn't install correctly through the product portal, but I ran the installer separately and it worked fine. So I don't really, other than that, I really didn't have any issues. I just plugged in my drives with my samples on them, linked the libraries that allow you to link and find and link them without re-downloading. I did. That was like East West, Spitfire stuff, contact libraries, things like that. The ones that don't support that very well, went ahead and reinstalled them. For the time being, I will be running Logic Pro in Rosetta mode. I tried running it natively, but it doesn't load all the plugins correctly because I know that East West is not really supported natively on M1, and Spitfire is iffy. Native Instruments also is kind of, I don't think they support native M1 Apple Silicon right now. And so I've got a lot of plugins that just simply don't work natively. So I will be running, this is Logic Pro running in Rosetta. Once I did that, everything just loaded like normal. One thing that I do notice compared to the native Intel MacBook is East-West libraries tend to take a little bit longer to load. So that probably has to do with the compatibility layer. Other than that, I haven't really noticed any other issues. So we'll be looking here. I've got a similar setup. We've got the activity monitor here. I've got the Logic performance meter. So I'll pull up the temps here. The temps are pretty phenomenal, I have to say. Right now we are sitting at 29 degrees Celsius, which is pretty crazy. 28, actually. It's going down. As I've been working on this, I have not seen it go above 40. So that is an area, it's extremely quiet. I can't even hear it. I mean, it's not even really making any sound. So you can kind of see it's still loading. The Intel Mac would have loaded this one by now. So that is a little bit of a performance hit as far as loading the libraries goes. But as far as once they're loaded, I'm not noticing any real issue. So that's something to consider, but I think that's just down to the Rosetta layer. It's having to go through a compatibility layer. We're at 128 samples. Okay, I don't need to see much more. We're a little over 25% at that point. I didn't see this again go above 80. Let's take it back down. Now remember, we started to get, this will be audible. We started to get pops at 64. That's the most CPU intensive part. I mean, the average is still... I don't have this updating super fast because it takes CPU to do that. But it doesn't... It just stays at 80% idle. Let's just go insane. 32. All right, we're at 32 samples. This is uncharted territory for me. Okay, we're getting some pops now. But it's still running. Let's start it over. It didn't pop that time, so it's not. This is the most CPU intensive part. Alright, that just, that honestly does kind of blow my mind. I don't really know what to say about that. That's kind of left me speechless. What can we take away from this? Is it good for orchestral composition? I'd say yeah. I'm certainly pleased with it. What am I expecting, in the future? I'm certainly hoping that a lot of these companies will... I know a lot of them are working on it. Especially Native Instruments, they even said that getting it compatible with just running Rosetta, that was their first thing. And I think they pretty much got everything there. Now the main thing is getting everything to run natively. Now some things already will run natively. I know Piano Tech automatically runs. They are able to. I think some of the UHE, like Repro and Diva, I think they're native. I haven't checked that, so don't quote me on that. But there are all of the Logic plugins themselves run natively, obviously. So I think what you're going to find is that, the ones that can get that native integration running sooner, those are going to be the ones that are really going to stand out. So for instance, I'm still using the version of Hollywood Orchestra that uses Play. Something tells me that East West is not going to update that because they've already, gone to Opus. That's their new thing. So there's a good chance that Play will never run natively. So it may be that eventually, if they do get Opus running natively, that I may have to upgrade to Opus, even though I don't feel the need to. For the sound-wise, I may need to for the performance. But at this point, I'm still in a better place than I was with the MacBook, and it's just simply quieter. So if you're looking for I'm gonna do a series. I'm just kind of trying to get some stuff set up. You can see I've got a mess in the background there. I'm going to do a series on getting started with orchestral composition. And I'm going to talk about, what kind of machine, what kind of computer you actually need. But just as a quick thing, if you wanted to get into composition and you wanted to use a Mac, this is a pretty good one. Now, there are rumors that they're coming out with another one next year. I don't know that. I don't know. But it's probably going to be more expensive than this one. You can find these on sale sometimes. I think this one was around $800 or something like that. And I'm certainly pleased with it for that price. So, anyway, I'm not going to ramble on anymore. This was really just a get in, see how it works kind of video. So, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Bye for now.